Hey guys, my name's Katie Torgeson, and I did my summary on experts arming teachers, not the answer to stopping active shooters. Basically, what this article is about is it starts out basically stating how in recent years there's been much debate across the country in deciding whether or not school districts should allow their employees to be armed on campuses to help reduce the risk of school shootings. And what kind of started this debate was the Sandy Hook shooting that happened a few years ago. Since then, there's been a lot of debate throughout the country as to whether, just with gun control in general. So, arming teachers with a firearm to help protect students and the school they are at will cause more danger because these teachers do not have the same training and standards of a police officer. And that's pretty much what this whole article was centered around. It goes into then argue that the training police officers go through to carry a firearm is much more extensive than anything a teacher would have to go through, and that the standards that a police officer has is again much more extensive and consistent than anything that a teacher would have, just because they've obviously gone to school for this to provide safety for people, whereas a teacher has gone to school to educate. So just that in general is one of the main arguments. It also says that arming a teacher would be more dangerous because they do not obviously go through as much training and schooling as I just mentioned, but if teachers become armed, the results would be inconsistent and would potentially cause more harm than good, because teachers might be afraid to actually fire the weapon when an active shooter would come onto campus then. In addition, if the weapon was not stored properly within the school, that could also be very dangerous if a child were to get a hold of it. And as a result, students' lives would still be in danger, and that teachers and faculty should focus on educating their students because that is what they're good at and that is what they went to school for as well. So the next argument that the article brings up is that many schools also do not have very good security assessments around the parameters of the school. So school districts should be focusing on getting things like security cameras or locking the doors throughout school days to prevent people from actually coming in. And this would also help prevent or maybe make more aware if there was an active shooter, or if something was going to happen, they might be able to notice it faster and be able to actually stop it just by having these few additional assessments to the school around it. There was also a survey that was conducted by about 10,000 people, and in summary, it basically states that teachers might not be comfortable actually having a firearm and that a lot of them still feel safe on their campuses. So the thing that the article is leaning towards, and what it seemed like the teachers also were mimicking, was that school assessments around the building and around the parameters of the building should be taken into consideration. So like I said, getting the security cameras, getting more maybe radios for teachers as well, so when they're outside they can be communicating with those inside, just to help with more communication and more security around it, instead of just right away giving a gun to a teacher and thinking that will help the situation. So that, again, like I said, was pretty much the core of the argument. Now, the source in general, it seemed credible. It was more of a newspaper sort of article, so it is not as credible as, say, like a scholarly article, so it's not as reliable, but a lot of the information in it was consistent, and it was published in 2014, so it's still relevant, especially with everything that's been occurring lately. Like, these are still relevant problems. And the only obvious fault that I noticed in the article was that it was biased towards not arming teachers with a gun. And it would have been nice to see more information from the opposing side instead of just the one side of not arming them. But I would use this article in my final paper because it demonstrates how schools can place alternative solutions on securing the building versus just immediately arming staff with a firearm. So I thought that was a good idea, and that is why I would also like to use it in my final paper. So thank you for listening.